Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to another session with my very close friend and colleague, Tomei Schnitsius. As you'll recall, in our previous discussions, we've touched on a broad range of topics and gone quite deeply into several of them. One being the mystery schools. And what's associated with the mystery schools, at least for me, when I hear that word, I think about Egypt. And I think about the work being done either in the temples that are still in Egypt, the sacred temples, or in the Great Pyramid itself. And I thought what I would do is shift the conversation in the direction of, is there something within the geometric structures of pyramids, or the way in which the temples themselves were created, that generate either energy vortexes or fields of energy that really assisted in this process? So, Tomei, I'm throwing a fairly heavy-duty
Yeah,
issue at you, but I know you have some things you'd like to clarify and say, and I really appreciate that. So,
yeah.
thank you.
Well, yeah. Thanks, Bill. And welcome everybody once again. So pyramidal structures have been known throughout history for a long time. In fact, some of the physical structures that are on the planet are just being found. A lot of them are being uncovered, and I'm going to suggest to you that a lot more are going to show up as more research is done, and now that we have the technology to span the earth and find out where some of these structures are, which have been buried for such a long time, either in jungles or in sands or deserts and that sort of thing. Now we have the opportunity to locate them, and a lot of them were placed upon the planet in certain areas of the earth, um, which, of course, some of you already know and some don't, but they were also created to align with the star systems in some respect. They also were placed upon the planet where a certain amount of energy was coming out of the planet or going into the planet, which are called vortexes. And so some of these structures were placed there to enhance the energies coming in or coming out, uh, and were used in a lot of ceremonies in the mystery schools, as Bill was kind of talking about there. Um, and they're they're everywhere. So you'll see them all over South America. You'll see them in Asia. You'll see them in Africa. You will even see them in the United States, Mexico, and probably we'll be seeing them pretty soon in Antarctica and Alaska and other places um, that are, like Antarctica starting to melt. So there's a lot of structures and things that are starting to show up, and you're not hearing a lot about it because the powers that be maybe just don't want to let us know really what's happening, but they are there all the same. So we can talk about the exterior pyramidal structures, and what I mean by that is anything outside of us. And then I'm going to switch over to the pyramidal structures that are within us because they do line up. They have the same qualities, if you will, the same understandings, how this all operates. So,
Tomei, for
pyramidal
just,
structure, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, excuse me.
No, it's okay.
Um, for just a second, before you get into the details, et cetera,
Yeah.
I noted in what you were describing that you used the word placed, that they were
Yes.
placed.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the question comes up, who did the placing?
Well, yeah.
Is and I mean, I realize this is all related
Yeah.
because when you say if when the ice melts in Antarctica, we may see some. Well,
Oh, we will.
they've been covered. That means they've been there a very, very long time, etc.
Very, very long time. And so there's now, let's just call it a hypothesis that there are many, many, uh, how would I say it, cultures that have existed here on the planet before the ones that we actually know of. And who they are, where they came from, and so on. I guess that remains to be seen or understood. Um, some people, I don't want to lose people too much in all this kind of discussion, but some people don't believe there was an Atlantis. Some people don't believe that there were cultures that were very sophisticated before um, we showed up. And I would say to you and to them that a lot of these ancient cultures were from the stars. Um, there will be very soon, I'm sure, the opportunity to find out what's really going on with the alien understandings. We want to look at it alien because Hollywood kind of gives it a negative connotation, but um, Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton would say we're aliens, that we came from somewhere else, because when they go back now in time and find out that chromosome 22 wasn't with Neanderthal and it was only within us, and somehow that was created overnight. It's impossible for something like that for nature to create overnight. So um, there's something else that happened, and they don't quite know exactly that. And science isn't going to come out and speculate. They're going to want to have the information. So these pyramidal structures have been here a long time. In fact, some of the history behind them is now having to be rewritten because they're finding out that they're way older than what they originally thought. So those structures um, have a way of looking at it through, let's say, a geometric way. And the apex of a pyramid, as you know, a pyramid is kind of like a triangle if you look it straight on. And so the top of the triangle, the apex of the triangle, was the place where energy goes in and comes out. And so as the base of the pyramid, um, that's kind of, let's just say, where all the work is happening, where all the energy is coming together, either before it leaves or as the energy comes in from the apex, and it goes into the bottom of the, or within the pyramid or the triangle. It is then enhancing the opportunity for things to start taking place. You might say manifestation or creation of some kind. And the ability to be able to use that energy in such a way that will enhance, say, anybody who sits under a pyramid shape, or anybody that sits under a triangle of some kind. And so this has been known for a long time. And so a lot of the ancient cultures would go to these pyramids to sit inside them. Um, there has been written history, let's say for the Giza plateau, like you were just talking about, that in the king's chamber where there's a sarcophagus, that many of the masters going way back sat in that sarcophagus to take in the energies that were coming from the universe down into the earth, to help them open up their hearts and their bodies, or their energetic bodies even more. So it was a tool. The pyramids are a tool, and they're energy centers. Um, as and I'm continuing to explain this going outside. If if you look at some of the space travel that's been done with some of these, uh, I don't know what you call them, Bill, some of the spaceships that have gone around and started taking pictures of on these planets, even on Mars or some other places.
Yeah.
They're finding structures and pictures that look very, very similar to a pyramid. They're not going to come right out and say it is. It's almost like they need a closer look, but it sure it sure looks like they are. So all of a sudden, we might be finding these pyramidal structures on other planets in our solar system, but of course, in other places throughout the whole galaxy. Um, and that gets everybody into like, whoa, what are you talking about here? Um, but there's some truth to that, because they are showing up with some pictures here and there on some of these planets, and so they can't deny anymore that they might be somewhere else as well. that being the case, it's like you say, they were placed there, right? You come back to that line I made, or said. Um, so some were built. If you go to Egypt, I think it's Saqqara was built as a mud pyramid, kind of a step pyramid. But the ones that were made with such precise um, engineering ability is beyond anything that we could even do today. And a lot of the engineers would say that. They'd say, we couldn't build this today. We don't have the equipment that could take these, these rocks, these huge rectangular or square blocks that weigh tons and tons and tons, that we don't even have the equipment to place them on top, let alone put them in position like they are in such a precise way. So something was going on back in the day when these things were placed there. We can only speculate at this point what that might be, but we do know that there's no way that if history is correct about the people that used to live there, there's no way they could do it. It's impossible. They couldn't place them up on top of each other in such a way to make it so perfect. And you've been to Peru, so you've seen some of the sculptures there, some of the walls there, and some of the um, temples and so on that are there that are so precise that you can't even fit a piece of paper in between them, and there's no concrete at all. It's just rock, block upon block upon block, and been cut so perfectly. And so even today's lasers cannot do that kind of work as precisely as what they did back in the day. So again, looking outside of us at some of these sacred geometric patterns that we know of through the mystery schools, and then we look at some of the things that have been built, and they're everywhere, especially the pyramids, there has to be some relevance to it, some connection to it all. And the mystery schools of old, which, like you say, going back into Egypt, but of course they were all over the world, um, talked about sacred geometry in a way to be able to assist um, the initiate to go deeper within themselves and understand that there is um, an energetic way of being with the universe, let's just say, or with your maker or source, or the energetic flow within you uh, by pure intent. So you go into the intent of feeling and sensing what this might look like. So what they would teach, so I'm kind of shifting over now to the internal pyramidal structures, unless you have any questions that, as I've been talking, that you have that's coming up for you, or any thoughts.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to comment just quickly on two things that I experienced in my trip to Peru, which was back in 2009.
Yeah.
Um, in in Cusco, the city that in Peru that was the capital of
Right.
everything.
Hmm.
It sits at an 11,000 foot level there. At Cusco, down on one of the main sort of side alleys historically, this one whole long wall is just lined with these intricate, okay,
Yeah.
carved stones where you can't get the piece of paper between them, blah, 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 blah. And the fellow who was showing me this, he stopped sort of in the middle of the wall and he had me look. And there was a rock there that I'll say was maybe a yard wide, maybe for
Hmm.
4 or 5 feet wide, etc.
Hmm.
And it had 12 angles on it. Okay.
Hmm.
And everything else around it matched perfectly with the 12 cuts and angles in that
Yeah.
rock. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you just stop. I mean, you could hardly believe it.
Yeah.
The fortress, as it was called, and I'm not sure what it was, called Sacsayhuaman, that
Hmm.
sits above in a mountainside above sort of downtown Cusco. there are stones there so gigantic you can't
Hmm.
believe it. All right. I
Yeah.
mean, they dwarf people when you just stand next to them.
Yeah.
And they too, everything is just perfectly shaped, angled, et cetera, et cetera. And it boggles the mind as to how this can be done.
Hmm.
I don't know on your trip whether you got down into Bolivia or not to Tiwanaku,
No.
but Tiwanaku has a pyramid that has deteriorated somewhat and they're sort of under restoration, et cetera. But at the top of it, okay, at the kind of peak point, it's a
Hmm.
plateau, is a rock where you put your compass, okay, on that rock. It's a small
Hmm.
area, and the compass is just spinning around and going all over the place. They found these, as it were, energetically, magnetically,
Hmm.
absolutely neutral or vortex places
Right.
that were just remarkable. And the whole pyramid is structured around that vortex of
Vortex.
magnetic energy.
Yeah. So that leads to another answer, maybe another solution here, which the mystery schools would teach. And so I'll stay with the outside pyramidal structures a little bit more. Um, when when we did go to when Lisa and I did go to Cusco with Jorge, um, she stood by one of these walls like you were talking about, and right in the middle of this humongous stone rock that was carved, and it was probably a story high and easily a room wide. And
Yes.
in how deep it was we don't know. I mean, it was just so big. And so that alone, when I took a picture of her at it, just kind of you just shake your head like, how is this even possible? The other thing that Jorge pointed out, which I really wanted to get into, because you were just talking about the vortex, was that around that rock were 7 other rocks. And what Jorge said, he says, when you find a major rock like that with 7 rocks around it, that is signifying an opening. That is signifying a vortex. So they knew how to feel the vortex locations, like you were saying. And this was the entry point sometimes for um, others to just walk into, say, a pyramid, because they're not finding a lot of openings in these pyramids. They'll find a door here, there, door there, kind of a thing, and then it takes you down or up into the pyramid to some degree. And they don't understand how they could have got into those other places. Well, energetically, they just walked right in. So the vortex, they could meld with the energies that are there, and then it's almost like looking at Star Trek, kind of beam me up, Scotty, kind of a thing where it turned your particles into a different array, so it could be sent to a different place. And this is how some of the masters back in those days were to be able to kind of meld right in, kind of walk through walls, if you will, type of a deal, and just go into to doing the practices they did inside. Um, and so every one of these pyramids were placed specifically on vortexes to be able to connect with the energies that are there, because it would enliven them. Now, on a side note, the reason that Atlantis didn't make it was because in the end, the ego took over. And when the ego took over, there's some books that have been written. This, and some people call this race by certain names, and some call it by another certain name, and so on. But if you go into the Children of Love one book that was written by John Pino, and based upon the information he got from some of the mystery schools he spent in Tibet before they were destroyed, on the monasteries and so on, that had all these books, thousands and thousands manuscripts and stuff. It was known that the Belilians there were the race of, let's just call it Atlanteans, that decided to control everything. And once they controlled everything, they started using the vortexes to find power and to gain power, and started using lasers that were going into the planet. And the planet would have been destroyed if they didn't, if the powers that be above them didn't take out the race. And so that's conjecture. I'm not saying that people have to believe that story, but we know throughout history that there are two forces at play because we're in a dualistic nature. We have a what you might call a imbalanced dense force and a high frequency light force. And the dense force has been in control for a long time. And they use the energies of the planet against the people that are here, against societies and so on. And they've learned how to do that. They've learned how to put that together. And I would suggest to you, and this is just something that I'm looking at myself and that I feel before I get into the internal pyramidal structures. We're in Atlantis again. I feel it's just happening all over again. I feel like the energies and the technologies that are coming out are not being used for the proper reasons. They're being used for control and against people. And they're going to do everything they can to do that. And if they do, I truly believe that there's enough of us on the planet that are at a higher frequency that they won't be able to touch. And this time, it's not going to happen. This time, our society is going to move into a different place. And I might say they're going to be left behind if they choose to stay in their dense energy. And it's not going to be a battle. It's not going to be a fight. It's just going to happen because our frequencies are so much higher, they're not going to be able to be with them again like they did before. That's what I see in technology today. This AI thing is so dangerous to me. So incredibly how it can be used in ways that we don't even know. I mean, they could take a picture of us right now, Bill, and put us on some stream and put us in positions of things that aren't even true, and people will see it and believe it. And it'll be hard for them to not believe it because it'll look like it really is us, and it's not us. This has really gotten to the point where we have to be very, very careful in how this stuff's going to be used. And the billionaires got the money, and so they're going to find a way to make it work for themselves, I believe. Maybe we'll have a few that have a little bit more ethics and morals, but we'll see how this all plays out.
Well, I think humanity has defined itself in this last century around the word progress
Mm-hmm.
or the word evolution. And they think the evolution and the progress is, I'm going to say, almost solely that of technology and
Yeah,
all that technology has given us.
yeah,
Okay. My sense of it is, however, that the technology has come to the danger point of overriding its creators.
yeah.
That is, it's
That's
almost taking on a life of its own in what it can do. Um, and I would just like to remind our viewers that the words artificial intelligence means artificial. Okay.
yeah,
And if we go further with this, the whole human genome is going to emerge as something artificial, which
mm-hmm.
I don't think represents who we really are, as opposed to us somehow finding a way to put boundaries around that. And it's,
Yeah,
the technologies themselves are beyond me, so I don't know how to do that.
yeah, and I agree.
But
Yeah. And Greg Braden was kind of I listened to something that he had spoken of maybe about a year ago, and I'm not going to say his fear, but what he sees happening is that there's a possibility that we would lose our humanity.
yes, yes.
Basically, is what it comes down to, and to understand, and this is hard for people to comprehend, but to understand that you hold within you, in your own brain as a computer, and your heart being the director of that computer, you hold more technology than anything that could ever be created. It's just that we don't use it. And we're allowing ourselves to be soft. We're allowing ourselves to not do the work, to find that, to experience that, and to use it and manifest and create things that are for the best of all. And I think that's one of the things we're doing here in this Spirit Partners, this website, as well as the podcast that we have, is to invite people to go inward instead of looking outward for the answers. And hopefully that'll be the case. So these pyramidal structures, get back to what we're talking about, were really, really a part of the cultures back in the day. And I mean, way back in the day. They were used as energetic centers, places you could go to. Say, it's like going to the gas station today to fill up your car with gas. You're going to these centers to fill your body up with energy and to help yourself release some of the things that were holding you back. And you could do that in these locations. You would have masters, teachers that would help you for the best of your journey, instead of what started developing later, priests and followings, and all of a sudden money became involved, and greed and control and power and so on, which is what we're seeing today as well with the technology we have. So once again, I see us going down the same road as Atlantis, but I think this time things are different. I think we have an incredible amount of individual souls out there who have been working on themselves for a while and have raised their energies up to such a level that they really can't be touched. And as we get together more and more in that capacity, then we can override what's going on the planet. And the way we do that is to start looking inside ourselves in the pyramidal structure that we have inside. So inside all of us, we have a pyramidal structure within each cell. If you could look at a cell and look at the spin of the photon that's in there, if you could look at it, stop it, and see the geometry of it, you'd either see a pyramid or you would see what's called a Merkaba. And you would see two upside down, four-sided pyramids meshed together and spinning, one on top going one way and one on the bottom going the other way. This is the purity of your cell. This is the benevolence of your cell. You not only have this in each one of your cells, but you also have this inside your energetic body. You have your own Merkaba surrounding you, your energetic field. You have kind of an understanding that if you go into some of the mystery school understandings, you would find out that they would tell you that your third eye would be your apex, and your base of your first pyramid is going to go through your sacral chakra, which is kind of just above your belly button, and the base of the pyramid would go out. You could put your two hands out on your lap with your palms up and form the pyramid that would come out sideways. The base would come out to each one of the hands that goes just above your belly button. Then the two lines would go up into your third eye, and now you would form your pyramid of knowledge, your pyramid of wisdom coming in from above. And so the apex would be in your third eye if your upper chakra was open, and you could allow the energies to come in. The energy will come in there and then filter down, but it also would filter into the middle of the pyramid. In the middle of the pyramid it's formed with you is your heart space. And so we've talked about heart space before. We've talked about a third eye in some respect. We've talked about our mind and our brain. We do have these sacred geometric patterns around us in a energetic way. And I invite any of the viewers to even do the simple exercise of just putting your hands on your lap, envisioning, closing your eyes, envisioning the apex being in the middle of your forehead, but inside kind of your head, and forming that pyramid, closing your eyes, and just take 2 or 3 breaths and see if you can sense that pyramid. Can you sense that it's connected? I would suggest that if anybody takes the time to just breathe a few times and go into a little bit of silence, you'd be able to feel your own pyramid that you have within you. So to understand that the structures are not just outside of us, they're inside of us. Thoth, who is a great architect and a master back in Egypt, um, in his Hermetic studies, the book, the Hermetic studies, what is it? The Emerald Tablets, I believe it's called. Um, made a statement in there: as above, so below, as above. So what happens outside of us also happens within us, and what happens within us happens outside of us. We're all connected in that kind of a way. So if I can do the work internally, which really is the first part of the journey, which we've talked about before, and to start opening up my sensing and feeling of what structures I have within myself, there's more of a possibility that I then can connect outside of me with energies that have been there all along. I just didn't see them or feel them because I wasn't open to them. If you look at your body, and now I'm going to go into more of a esoteric way of looking at your body as opposed to physically looking at your body, although there's physical locations. You have the 7 chakras, and there's a new chakra, the 8th chakra, which is the thymus, which is just below the throat chakra here. Each chakra is located, so you have your upper chakra, you have your middle, your third eye, throat, thymus, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and then root chakra. Each chakra has a pyramidal structure as well. And if you were to look at, say, some of the Eastern teachings of chakras, and you would see the lotus petal that represents each one of the chakras, if you were to look at that and overlay a pyramid, you could see how perfectly one would fit right on top of that, that lotus petal. You would also see that in some of the Eastern cultures, they actually put pyramids on top of these um, uh, locations, and some of them have multiple pyramids, all intertwined on some of them, depending upon the spin and the vortexes and what they mean to you. So each one of these chakras are vortexes. So we just talked about vortexes outside of us. We have vortexes inside of us. So again, as above, so below, as below, so above. So to enter our own pyramid, we have various locations we can go. And we can see how each one feels. We can get a sense of what each one means. You can do some studies on this on your own. Some of the Helena Blavatsky books, which are really dense and hard to read. Alice Bailey's books from Dwaj Quill are very dense and hard to read, but they give you a lot of the specifics, scientifically almost, is how do these things spin? What do the vortex look like? What colors they might be? What you might find there as far as, your sacral being your creative chakra, your solar plexus being your empowerment chakra. And so you can start understanding what kind of energies are located here for me that I've never known before, how I could invite myself into my own vortexes and learn more about myself internally, and what beautiful energies lie for me, waiting for me to explore and to see how I can create more of that if it serves me in the moment. Within each pyramid, we have what's called a threefold flame. Some of the masters back in the day, Saint Germain being one of them. If you ever look up that name, you might want to check him out. Threefold flame. So you have 3 different locations on the pyramid. You have the apex, you have the bottom left, and you have the bottom right. The apex flame is what is known as the Father or the divine intelligence. So when I am in my pyramid, what I'm hoping is I'm taking the time to be present with my own pyramid. I am hoping that in my apex, in my third eye, I will receive through my crown chakra, which is the upper chakra, any kind of sense of divine intelligence, some kind of feeling and sensation of connection that would help me maybe come up with ideas that are for the best of all, as opposed to the ego just coming up with definitions of ideas of what it can get away with. There's a complete difference of that. So, and we've gone into that a little bit already about ego and about heart intelligence. If I allow myself to have divine intelligence come in, then that gives the opportunity for the bottom left, which is considered to be consciousness. It's considered to be the mother. It's considered to be where creativity and manifestation begin. And then it'll go into the bottom of the pyramid down at the bottom. Once that gets connected, then it goes across over to the far right in the bottom corner of the pyramid there. And this could be either what's called spirit, where grace is available, energies that will assist to help the creation take place in a manifested way for you, because it's your creation, it's your manifestation. You also can look at the three locations as Father, Mother, and Son. Son was considered the manifestation of the mother in the divine intelligence, so that corner could also be located as the sun, but it doesn't mean your son. It just means the sun is representing your creation or your manifestation. In Christianity, sometimes they look at it as the Holy Spirit. The far right they look at it as the Holy Spirit. In any case, you have these three locations that are located in each one of your chakras. They're located in your cells. They're located in the electrons that are spinning. They're located in the photons. They're located outside of you in the different buildings and pyramids and things that have been built all over the world. And now we know there's some even on other planets in our solar system. And so we'd have to almost consider that there's probably some all over the universe in some respect if we believe that there's intelligent life. So we have this unifying connection of what is what is below and what is above. We have this unifying connection that what I have inside me is outside of me. What is outside of me also is inside of me. So there is this unification principle that we look at where it can interplay and it can work together as a co-creator, a co-manifester. You can use the outside opportunities to open yourself up to inside opportunities and use inside opportunities to create manifest outside opportunities. If you're into this vortex, into this stream of energy that is happening. So all things have this. It's not just us alone, but if you look at, say, nature in some respect, you'll see a lot of these sacred geometric patterns in nature as well, based upon the phi ratio is how things grow and so on. So you'll see there is definitely a divine intelligence, somehow you might call it, in how everything is created and manifested. It seems that it grows in sequences that are perfect. There's things that happen in the sequence. We can take that sequencing and look at ourselves with our own divine intelligence and see how things happen within us and see how things happen outside of us. So to break it all down once again, what ends up happening in the end is you allow yourself to be in these pyramidal structures, no matter where they are, whether they're in your vortexes, in your chakras, whether you just feel them in certain parts of your body. You don't need to know the names of all these things. You can feel and sense certain areas of your body. As you go deeper and deeper into this, what ends up happening in what the mystery schools were trying to assist people with, and actually in the work that I do with other people, I don't go into all this stuff. I'm just helping them find their heart. I'm just helping them see if they can enliven and embrace their heart energy. Because once these things start aligning, the heart energy becomes very profound. It begins to open up more and more. And when that happens, the ego, the mind, does not get involved in what's going on. It gets involved only as a, let's say, co-participant in what's going on, but is not the director. The heart becomes the director. And everything that we begin to manifest and see isn't isn't necessarily judged anymore. It's experienced. And then the heart within the pyramidal structure of your body begins to grow. And you can imagine the Giza Plateau, the pyramid there. As the energies are coming in, the internal process of the pyramid begins to grow. It begins to become alivened. Well, the same thing happens to us. As we allow these energies to come in, and we, with pure intent, ask them to, and with pure intent, we ask to align with them, which means we feel them and we become them. The internal process in our body becomes alive. This is where healing takes place. Healing takes place once these energies are being used with a pure intent for the best of all concerned. And I'm not talking about just physical healings, but that's part of it. We can heal our emotional state. We can heal our mental state. We can heal our physical state. We start recognizing those things that don't necessarily serve us. It doesn't mean we're judging them. We just can start feeling the low density of energy that is there, and we're not going to invite that inside our pyramid anymore. We're going to say, wait a second, no, that will not enhance my heart. In fact, it'll take it down. So I'm not going to allow that vibration to come into my pyramidal structure. It's not judging it. It's just saying, I want to be at a higher place. And that's not hierarchy at all. It's just, I want to be at a higher vibrational place than a lower vibrational place. And all of a sudden you're off and running. The universe is at your beck and call. You know, when they talk about infinite abundance, oh my gosh, think about all the abundance that's throughout the whole universe. It's just waiting for you to explore and bring those energies inside your pyramid to start manifesting what it is that you would like to feel and sense in your journey. I'm taking a break. So
well, you said a great deal, and I want to thank you. I want to amplify that in a personal way with some experiences. You've mentioned that classically there are 7 chakras.
yeah,
The people are starting to well, they're starting to recognize that there is one up here by the thymus, which
yeah,
often is called the high heart.
yes, correct.
Well, when I had the experience of being in the king's chamber
Right.
of the Great Pyramid
Mm-hmm.
and lying in the sarcophagus, which
Yeah,
was the place where the initiates lay,
correct,
okay, who
correct.
were in the
Yes.
mystery schools.
Yeah.
I was just given 60 seconds there, but what happened as soon as I lay down, almost immediately, is I was just hit with, I'm going to call it like the equivalent of electrical current. It
Yeah.
was just,
Electron.
it is
Yeah.
so alive with energy. It was unbelievable. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't fight it. I just let it happen. And after about, I'm going to say 30 seconds, there was a thump in my chest.
Mm-hmm.
There's just, God, what's that? But, it was just a thump. And
Mm-hmm.
I told people about it who were in the group, and they said that was probably your high heart opening.
Mm.
Okay. That,
Mhm.
it just hadn't been really opened and awakened and alive until that point. So
Right.
I had my 60 seconds in there, um, and got out. And after our whole group had finished, they said, those of you who want to stay, and if you want to get back in, you may. And I did. And I
Mhm.
got zapped again, but not as intensely and for not as long a time as I did the first time. But I
Mhm.
mean, it is alive. That
Mhm.
that sarcophagus, that stone
Mm.
sarcophagus, I just call it an energy machine. It
Yeah.
is absolutely, it is absolutely alive. Everything that you said about pyramids, okay? If you imagine that there's a pyramid here and then a reverse one, and they're
Mhm.
spinning in opposite directions, that is
Right.
exactly, with different language, what Nassim Harriman is describing when
Mm.
he says we are all energetic black hole vortices.
Yeah.
That is, we are bringing in energy from the outside, we are
Mhm.
processing it internally, etc.,
Yep.
in
Mhm.
the movement of this torus, which where the top spins one way and the bottom spins the other. And in the
Mhm.
middle is that phenomenal creation point. All
Right.
right. Where I'm guessing the higher the vibrational energy that comes to that point, the more manifestation and the more creation that can happen.
Mhm.
He says, just as you've described, that happens at every level. Okay.
Mhm.
That it
Yep.
happens at the most micro, okay, atomic level, and it gets
Right.
bigger and bigger and bigger, and pretty soon it happens at the cellular level, and pretty soon it's happening at our whole body level, and then it
Right.
just continues to expand and expand.
Right.
So,
That's a
so,
unification principle. Yeah.
so the bottom line here is that the cutting edge of science, which is his work, okay,
Mhm.
where he's been able to unify quantum mechanics with the
Mm.
cosmic theories of Einstein, which
Yeah.
Einstein couldn't do. That description of those micro to macro black holes
Yeah.
spinning and processing energy is the essence of of all that exists.
Yeah.
Everything is doing that.
Mhm.
And that to me is ultimately the marriage of cutting edge science and ancient spirituality.
Yeah.
Because Thoth, as you put, Thoth, who became um, uh, Magistus, Trimagistus, or however that was,
Yeah.
what his name was, but he was Hermes,
Trigomace. Yeah.
was
Mhm.
Hermes to the Greeks. He
Right.
was Thoth to the Egyptians.
Yeah.
Um, in that writing are these fundamental principles, okay,
Right.
of how literally the universe works. And and they're expressed in things that are thousands and thousands and thousands of years old.
And that's why, it was hard for most people to understand what's he talking about as above, so below. Once we understand kind of what you just explained and what I've been trying to share with people, it's like now you have a total understanding what that means. As above, so below, and so below as above. It's like whether it's inside of us outside, it's there, and it's all the same. It functions, the process of it, and it functions all in the same way. So if I can understand that, then why am I sitting around, watching a bunch of TV when I could be working on my, manifestation? And then I'm not saying you're going to be able to do this all the time, but the point is like now you have a choice. You didn't know you had a choice before. Now you have a choice, and the choice is really profound. It's not like a choice that you say, well, I'm just going to go have a cheese pizza instead of a sausage pizza. You have a choice on really making a difference in your life and making a difference outside of yourself at the same time. because what I do inside is going to be projected outside and felt, and what is felt outside, then I can feel what's going on inside of me too at the same time. So that's an incredible choice. Um, the uh, the understanding that it is all the same, um, and that when we start thinking to ourselves, let's say even about what's outside of us in the realms, one of the things that one of the ones talks we had, the podcast that we had earlier was like you wanted me to talk about my guides and beings and stuff like that. Well, you know what? We're energetic beings too.
Absolutely.
And the
That's
more you
what's,
become,
we're
yeah,
spirit partners and we have spirit partners.
yeah, it's like once you become an energetic being, truly, I mean, that's what pure intent. Pure intent is not just intent, mind driven intent, it's a heartfelt intent. They have a pure intent of knowing here that I'm an energetic being. That opens the door to feel other energetic beings. It opens the door to feeling better with the people around you, I guess you might say. Or maybe not. Maybe because you feel their energy, you really don't want to be around. Um, but it gives you a choice, and you start feeling things that seem to bring comfort to you. Feel welcomed in. And once we start working that way in the heart space, we don't want to project a dense feeling anymore. We don't want to project a dense energy. Well, that means we have to work internally on ourselves to change and shift what it is that we've been doing for so long, and understand we actually have a choice in doing that. Your cells can't wait for you to make that choice. They're just like they're bouncing around like little guys, and they're like, "Oh yeah, whoo, okay, let's go do this." And then you start yelling at somebody and you go, "Oh, geez, he just had the chance, and now he's yelling and screaming at somebody, and the dense energy's coming in. Oh, I guess we have to be with this for a while now." It's like there's this motion that starts taking place when we open ourselves up in our heart and wanting to really feel and sense energetic light, or you call it whatever you will, the photons, and to let them become more present in our life and in our body and in our heart. And things shift really drastically when that starts taking place. So pyramidal structures, people think, oh, he's going to talk about, the pyramids of Giza and the pyramids here and the pyramids there. I want to talk about pyramidal structures as being a unification principle that's throughout the universe, outside of us, and it's throughout our internal system as well, everywhere for us to use and to start co-creating with everything that's going on around us. That's a lot. I mean, it's just a lot. And it's hot. I would say it's a lot for people to digest. How's that going to help me in my job as I'm a title insurance agent or something like that? Um, it will help you be able to communicate with people better. You will have more of a sense of how to be with the person in the moment, as opposed to just going along and doing the things you've always done. It can help you understand that just giving a smile to somebody who walks into your office is an incredible amount of energy that's coming from your pyramid. It's coming from the internal process that's going on. Whether you want to see it as a pyramid or not, it doesn't matter. It's just that everything is in such an energetic way of working together in a unified way to open up the energies that are inside your personal pyramid, which is your heart. The smile enlivens that to happen. It's like it just brings this brightness inside. Even if you just do it once a day, it's what happens. That's what's going on. And when you feel good when you do it. You can feel it inside. And well, what's going on? It's like you got a smile factory going on inside the pyramid. You're just like your cells are like, yes, let's do this. Who's on board? Um, so anything else you want to?
Yes, I want to add. I want to add one other thing that
Sure.
kind of unifies all of this.
Yeah.
And this was a sort of an exceptional part of an exceptional experience. Um,
Hmm.
when we left our friend Jorge, okay,
Hmm.
and he sent our troop off to be in Cuzco, which we were for several days. He was there. All right. But then
Uh,
we did other journeys, and what we were doing is, among others, is going down to Machu Picchu. All right.
Yeah.
What he told me is don't just go to Machu Picchu, go to Mondor. Now, Mondor is a waterfall that's only about, I'm going to call it 10 meters, if that much that it falls, maybe even less. Okay. But it's a creek. We'd call it a creek. Okay. Or halfway between a creek and a stream. Okay.
Yeah.
But it comes off the mountains. There's this waterfall, and it flows for about a quarter of a mile and goes into the Urubamba River, which is at the bottom of the ravine where Machu Picchu is this mountain. So go to Mondor, and at Mondor do the sacred ceremony. Okay, so I was willing to do that. So some of our group decided to walk down the railroad tracks and then go up into the area and go to Mondor. Well, I did. The ceremony was go into the sacred waters of Mondor and bathe yourself or sprinkle yourself with water, okay, 3 times and see what happens. So anyway, I go there and we do it. Okay, I go in, it's down just a little rocky bank, and you can't really go. It's not like a beach. You're just right there, the precipice. But I reach down, get the water, sprinkle it over myself, come back up, and nothing happens. And I go the second time, and nothing happens. And I go the third time and sit down and have a vision. And it's the first time in my life I could say I had a vision, right? And I don't have to go into the details of the vision, but it put me into an altered state, all right, of being where, I mean, I was just staggering. Well, most of our people had already gone back into town, et cetera. And so I'm there only with the shaman who was with us. And I start down this trail, and anyway, various things happen, but I notice something off on the right. And this is what I want to pay attention to, okay? I see over on the right, maybe 15 feet or so from this little trail, a, a slab of rock, and in it is an engraving of a triangle. And inside of that triangle is a triangle. That is about halfway down, okay? You can see they've cut another line and there's a small triangle there. And then way down below that is an even smaller one. Jorge did not know that. So when I got big into Cusco, I told him about it. I have just now, thanks to you, realized what that may represent. Because I thought when I walked past this, I thought, well, those are only pyramids and they're only in Egypt, right? It was like, what's this Egyptian thing doing here? Well, it turns out that the whole cosmology of the Andeans is at 3 levels, okay? The serpent level, which is under the ground, the puma level, okay, that's on the ground, and the condor level is the higher spiritual. And what I'm getting is that the big pyramid was the condor level, and then below that triangle is, okay, the puma level, and then below that is the serpent level. And it's just incredible that although they operate around the animal totem symbolism and energies, right? That they put in this thing that kind of looked like an altar. It might have been an altar space or a ceremony space, but it had these 3 triangles. And I wished I'd have been alert enough to deviate off my path and go and just take a closer look at it. But it was not something we noticed going up, but boy, it was very present coming back down.
Yeah. and you know, maybe from now on, and if you do go to any of these other sacred places around the world, you'll start recognizing that there's pyramids everywhere. That's the unification of everything that was done around the world, you know, is that they all realized, whatever culture it was, that the pyramid was sacred, and had a sacredness to it and an energetic, you know, I think there's some kind of scientist or something. I remember reading something about people say you should live under a pyramid, or should, you know, you should form a
Yes.
pyramid some, because the energies will allow you to be more open. Well, there's a lot of truth to that. And you don't really need to live under one. You can become one. In fact, you already are one. And if you allow yourself, with kind of a pure intent and choice, to open up what you already have, it'll take you really far into your journey. It'll help you be able to feel and sense things like you haven't before, um, and really help you open up your heart. So um, there's so much more to this that you can start educating yourself on. Like I said, if some of you want to read some Alice Bailey books, you can look at some of the initiations that are there. You can start understanding some of the colors and the vibrations. Everything is vibration. Everything is magnetized. Everything is electrons and spinning and all that sort of thing. And once you understand that we're energetic beings, then you can start understanding also what kind of energy do you want to start bringing in, as opposed to being stagnant. So,
Well, as you know, in 2009, I began doing very deep work with Dr. Liana Matulich.
mm-hmm,
And that the whole foundation of her work is basically creating a four-pointed, okay, for the
mm-hmm,
base pyramid, all
yeah,
right, of right leg, left leg. Okay, we literally create an energetic tail behind us, okay,
mm-hmm,
and one out forward. And
correct,
all of the processes that happen in the brain happen through channels in the
mm-hmm,
body down through that and get grounded into the earth and get projected out from there.
mm-hmm,
And the work is incredible. I mean, it
yeah,
is absolutely astonishing what if you do that work, what
yeah,
opens up. And our colleague Alistair Hawkes is now doing and implementing Liana's work, Dr. Matulich's work, and she'll be doing presentations with us and interviews, etc. I mean, she's one of the spirit partners. So
mm-hmm,
I was really glad to bring her in because I wanted that work and that energy work and that voice represented in our team.
mm-hmm,
So it's wonderful that it matches. I mean, it really matches what you've said.
yeah, that's awesome.
Well, thank you for this. I mean,
Yeah,
once
you're
again,
welcome.
this has been mind-boggling. I know there's more coming.
Yeah,
So I'm simply going to say bye for now because soon we'll be addressing a different and very relevant topic that just deepens and deepens and deepens the potentials inside of you that can be activated.
yeah,
So thank you. And
yeah,
Tomei, again, my thanks and
you're welcome.
let's meet again soon and
Yes,
do another one. Thank you.
yep. Thanks, guys, for listening. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions, just let them know. We'll get them
Okay,
answered.
there
All
we
right, you guys
go.
have a great day.
Thank you.